Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we've got a 6-game slate here on Thursday for you guys. A couple of fun ones. Nate and I have a couple of the teams that we like going up head to head. That's the video we have for you here. The Celtics are hosting the Knicks. Also got another game video and our player props up for you, so make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Also want you to head to thelines.com. You can check out everything we're talking about there and more in written form on thelines.com, and use that odds finder tool that we have up there. You can make sure you're getting the best bets available to you guys, the best juice you can get back on all these bets for the NBA this season. Nate, let's go ahead and jump into this 6-game slate and then talk season Knicks.
Yeah, there are 6 games, but there are only 2 games where you can guarantee that both teams are trying. So those are the games we're talking about here. The Knicks and Celtics is the opener. It will be on TV, I believe, on TNT. Knicks are plus 8.5. I've seen it as high as plus 9. The total's been bet down a little bit to 223. Then the Pistons are plus 7.5 at the Nets, who are on a back-to-back. Got to watch the injury report. Bulls are minus 5.5 at the Hornets. The Cavs minus 8.5 at Rockets, but Donnie Mitchell might sit that one. They're on a back. No, they're not on a back-to-back, but he just might sit because it's the Rockets. And then the Spurs are plus 13 on a back-to-back at the Clips. Totals up to 233, but I kind of like the over there. And then Mavs plus 1.5 at the Suns. That is the other game we will talk about. Should be a spicy one. And so this Knicks Celtics game, no Marcus Smart for the Celtics, but they do get Brogdon back. They got Rob Williams back on Tuesday in another low-scoring game with the Heat. Strangely now, they've gone under in 6 of their last 7. I mean, under in 4 of their last 5 at home, but those games are still averaging 228. So it's kind of an adjustment from what we saw early in the season, where the Celtics were scoring at least 120 every time out at home, where they were going over at a ridiculous clip, going under pretty consistently on the road. They continue to go under on the road, but they've only played once at home in their last 7, and that was that Warriors game that got to 239. Also, Jaylen Brown has missed 4 of their last 7 games, and the offense suffered a little bit. I mean, against the Hornets, they were fine, but against good defenses, that definitely contributes. And he seems to have gotten it going here in his last 2 appearances. And we do look for him to see a little more usage with Marcus Smart out. But the biggest deal for me is that the Celtics defense is going to suffer without Smart, and their offense even more so in the last year and a half or so has struggled a lot more without Smart, who's really come around as a floor general, as a guy who pushes the pace and helps them get great shots. I mean, the 3-point percentage is extremely correlated to whether he's playing or not. Smart has really come alive as a playmaker lately, and their 3-point percentage is extremely correlated to whether he's out there. So I still do like the over, though, because we've talked about with the Knicks, and I guess we got it wrong against the Cavs, just because those are 2 teams that really take away the paint and have some extremely slow pace. I mean, the game was played at a 90 pace, but still there were some really good offensive signs from both teams in the sense that the Knicks shot 52% from 3, hit 17, and the Cavs dimed out 29 assists. And the Celtics, the last time these teams played, it was a Saturday night at MSG early in the season when the Celtics were on fire. They hit 27 threes. They had 30 assists, but that's kind of the 2 numbers you look at. Are the Knicks giving up assists? Are they giving up threes? And yes, without Mitchell Robinson, they've been giving up everything. 129 defensive rating in their last 5, a 140 in their last 2 road games. So even if it's played at a kind of slow pace, I expect one of these teams at least to get hot. I mean, obviously, you would lean towards the Celtics doing that, but I think the Knicks are coming along. I mean, they're starting to be more competitive in these games against teams above 500. We talked about that. I mean, they're still below 500 in those, but they're now 10-3 in their last 13 road games against the spread. As underdogs, starting to cover at a pretty high rate. I mean, and the over has been hitting pretty consistently, including in 6 of their last 8 road games this season. They had 64 pain points in that Boston game to keep us, just to hang around a little bit. That was with no Rob Williams or Al Horford. who both should be out there tonight. But I think the Knicks are going to cover this 8.5, or at least hang around close enough to that number to go over.
Oh man, I'm scared. I don't know if I have a solid pulse on this Knicks team. So it's a little bit difficult for me to know what's going to happen, other than they're going to give up a ton of points. I think that's pretty obvious. And the thing that scares me there is just what we've seen the Celtics do in their last three, which you briefly talked about, including against a Raptors team that I guess they're playing slow now, as they also just went way under against the Kings last night. So maybe that's a big part of it. And then obviously the Heat are doing what they can to sort of stay under 110 points, especially when they don't have Jimmy Butler playing like they did against the Celtics. So maybe it's just the fact that the Raptors slow things down. The Magic are a bad matchup for the Celtics, the game they played just before the Heat, and the Heat are the Heat against. That's always going to be a matchup in the East that they take each other seriously, and the Heat are coming back into form a little bit, at least because Bam is playing completely out of his mind. So I'm not blaming the Celtics entirely for not hitting shots, especially with the amount of injuries they've had in their last three games. If anything, I would say that does lean toward, make me lean towards the over here much more, because of the fact that you're getting a bit of value on the fact that the Celtics have had 3 games in a row that they've scored basically an average of like 98 points. So I think there's value on going over 223.5. It's also what happened earlier this season. What do you believe in terms of their first matchup, in terms of replicating itself? Because it's a pretty nice sort of similar situation here, where Mitchell Robinson did not play in their game in the first time that they met this season, and the Celtics scored 133 points, shooting 52% from deep, making 25 threes or something absurd. So what have the Knicks been doing on defense as of late? Not much. Like you said, those 5 games, they've been hemorrhaging points all over the place because Mitchell Robinson is out, but they've also been hemorrhaging 3-pointers, as they're giving up the 7th most 3-pointers made right now in the league in their last 5 games. And if that's going to be the case against the Celtics, then we know what's going to happen. Marcus Smart being out hurts the defense maybe a little bit more than I would say the offense, but you've seen what's been happening without him in there anyway. In terms of Derek White stepping up big time, and now Brogdon's back for this one, another solid perimeter defender for you. So I think I don't trust the Knicks to do much of anything. I think if you're following their trends, they don't win or lose once or twice in a row. It goes 4 wins, 5 losses, blah 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 blah, on and on with them. So maybe they're streaking in the right direction. I worry that Jalen Brunson's not really up to form in the last 5 as well. That's a huge reason for their struggles. I mean, the defense is probably directly correlated, not probably, it's directly correlated to Mitchell Robinson being out there. He's a complete terror in the post and in the paint, but with JB not playing up to his scratch in the last 5, getting down to about 21 a game, where they really need him at about 25 and only getting about 4 or 5 assists in that time as well. That's a huge problem for them, that's really the adult on their offense that not only keeps things in check and is a huge reason Julius Randle continues to thrive because of Jalen Brunson getting him in the correct spots. But at the same time, they need a secondary scorer, or at least the guy that sort of bails them out in the shot clock, the guy who sort of takes it and goes, I don't need anybody else to help me get a bucket here. And they haven't been having that. And as a result, you've even seen his sort of unassisted field goals go down. Just the things that have been really crucial for them in the way that I said, he's the adult on the floor, not just setting things up, but making sure they get the right buckets and the right shots. So that is the only thing that those things scare me about that total, but I'm going over before I go anywhere else. I think you have a bit more confidence in New York to cover tonight based on the way that they played the Cavs last game. But the Cavs looked really bad on offense, man. It was pretty stagnant, and I don't know how much I attribute that to the Knicks. So while I go over here, I'm loath to think the Knicks can cover 8 or 9 points, to be honest.
No, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I have much more confidence in the over as kind of a dual scenario thing where the Celtics, I think, will get right on offense. It's a question of whether the Knicks will be able to maintain the kind of pace we saw at Toronto, at Atlanta, where they at least kept the scoring up, and those games went way over. But there's a chance the Celtics get back to where they were at home, where they just absolutely hit the gas, and teams are not even hanging around. Yeah, I mean, RJ Barrett is, I guess, that other guy you're talking about in terms of getting his shot, and he's very up and down against the Celtics. I think his matchup is helped by no Smart, and Julius Randle continues to wreak havoc on the league. So even if Brunson is not up to full form, I think there's enough guys out there to get buckets for the Knicks. But yeah, I'm having trouble just trusting the Celtics. There's like a bit of a Kansas City Chiefs vibe where they're going to take care of business in these games, but they're not necessarily going to cover as big of a spread as you give them. 5-8 against the spread. Their last 13 as favorites. 4-7 against the spread at home since the start of December. And that was like the first month and a half they could do no wrong at home. It was just absolutely blowout city every time. Luke Cornett and here comes Geno time, as they say here. If you know, you know. But yeah. I mean, lately it's just been much more of a grind, much more of a target on their back. They're the top team in the conference, and I do think the Knicks will. I would rather take the Knicks to cover than I would guarantee a Celtics double-digit win.
And we don't need to force it. We can just say we like this total and going over, and really we like the Celtics total as well. I think is what we're saying. I think that they can get some buckets on this team without Mitchell Robinson down there. And the reason we would be worried about this total going over is if the Knicks even come along for the ride. So if you feel much better about the Celtics the way that I do, I think I'm going for team total even more so than that 223.5 total, just because I do not trust the Knicks on defense right now. So that is all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along. We've got another couple of videos up for you today on the 6-game slate. So until we see you next, happy betting.